So I'm still with Matt McGlynn. We're now looking at all of his mic parts DIY kits that you can either build yourself or, Matt, you also build as well.
Yeah, we sell them all as either as DIY kits or as finished products. So you may have seen on Mitch's channel, if you buy the kit, you get our circuit board and a bag of parts that we've selected. And then there's a 30 or 40 page instruction book that goes through step by step how to build it. So we'll talk about just a couple of them. So one of the mics that we have, this is one of the housing options. We have a couple of other colors and a different grill as well. But we have one called the T67. And I believe you had built one of those, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so that's a new product that we introduced just a couple of years ago. It's a solid state, large diaphragm condenser. It's switchable cardioid omni, and it also has an internal pad switch. And it has an old Neumann circuit design.
Yep.
Very, very simple circuit. And in audio, simple is usually better. If you open a microphone or anything and it's got 1,000 components in there, especially if they're all tiny little surface mount things, chances are, there's a lot of opportunities in something like that for something to go wrong, for it to be noisy or distorted or thin or two-dimensional or flat. So we build mics the way the German companies used to. And so the T67 has 4 parts in the signal path. There's the capsule, the JFET, the output capacitor, and the transformer. And it turns out, in a circuit that's that simple, if you get those 4 parts right, the mic is going to sound great. And so for the T67, we developed a brand new capsule that's not been done before. I've been looking for this capsule for years. I've had people tell me, this is that capsule. And I test it and I say, this is not that capsule. And what I mean is, it's a K67 design, but it doesn't need EQ in the circuit. Most K67s need EQ in the circuit. The capsule has a bright rising frequency response, and then the circuit has a low pass filter, a high frequency roll off. And then you put those two together and you get something that's more or less flat. But EQ isn't free.
Yep.
So always issues with that. So we developed a K67 style capsule that does not need EQ. And we use it in the T67, and we use another version of it in the Roswell Mini K67X. And the nice thing about not needing EQ in the circuit is that you don't have any kind of combination of components in the circuit that's going to cause problems like distortion or noise. And also you retain more air. By air, I mean the response above 10K. So you don't always hear that, especially if you're old. You start to lose your very, very high frequency sensitivity. But if you're trying to correct a bright capsule, that means you're trying to EQ in the 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 kilohertz range. But the way these things work, if you need to bring your 8 kilohertz down by 2 or 3 decibels, your 15 to 20K gets hammered.
Yep.
It's gone. You're down 20 decibels.
Yep.
Because you're trying to shift a lower frequency. So by developing a capsule that doesn't need any of that, we retain all that air. And it is rolled off.
Yeah.
Large diaphragm capsules don't have a lot of output at 15 kilohertz.
Yep.
But whatever we have is still in there.
Yep.
It's not blasted away by an EQ that's attempting to correct 8 to 10K.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's the T67. It's really a brilliant sounding mic.
Absolutely.
It's a go-to for vocals and acoustic guitar and a lot of different things.
Yep.
Another one I'll talk about is our pencil mic series. So we have 2 different, what's called head amps. That's the circuit. So this one is our take on the Neumann KM84. And then we have another one that is not here. It's based on the Shep CMC5.
Yep.
So I'll say the KM84 is not made anymore. Neumann discontinued them many years ago. They now make one called the KM184,
and it's
which
not the
is
same mic.
really a TLM
Yep.
84.
Yep.
Because it's transformerless and it sounds different, which is the ultimate, kind of who cares how they make it as long as it sounds good, right? But it actually sounds different.
Yep. So
it's not a one-to-one replacement of the vintage KM84. So we went back to the original drawings and we built a KM84 and we took out some of the stuff that we thought wasn't needed that has the side effect that our mic has higher output, which usually is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because higher output usually means lower noise. We have what we call the STC84, and then we have just the STC, the world's least imaginative product names.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And then we have a special version of our STC84 that looks a lot like this, but it's made for snare drum.
Yep.
And so
how does that work?
So how does that differ? So acoustic guitar is not a very loud instrument.
Yep.
Just to pick an example. Snare drum is quite a loud instrument, especially if you're that far away from it, which is where snare mics are typically placed. And so if you put a microphone that's built for acoustic guitar onto a snare drum, it'll clip, overload, distort, cut out, all bad things, session stopping things. So when we first came out with the STC-84, I gain staged it. I designed it for acoustic guitar because it's such a great application for that. And one of my engineers, artist engineer friends, said, "Can I put this on my snare drum?" And I said, "No, absolutely not, because it'll clip and distort and sound terrible and make me look bad.
Yeah.
Can't have that." But I imagine I could design a snare mic, and that needed a couple of things, 3 things. One was it needed padding on the input, and JFET selected for lower noise, and it needed a bigger turns ratio output transformer, and it needed as I'm thinking through, more than 3 things, it needed, or you can get away with a lower value output capacitor, because when you're that far away, you have the benefit of proximity effect, which means you can survive a little bit of low frequency filtering in the circuit because you're going to get it back from proximity.
Yep.
So the mic placed further away would sound thinner, but you don't do that. It's a snare mic.
Yep.
And why do I want to use a lower value capacitor there? Because I can use a better part. Right? So I can use a higher quality, like a film and foil part, instead of metallized film.
Yes.
So this is esoteric capacitor speak, which maybe you don't care about. But for me, as a designer, I thought, oh, this is an interesting opportunity.
Yeah, just for those uninformed, the capacitor is a filter, which means it filters out frequencies.
Yeah, a smaller one is going to filter out more lows.
Yep.
And we didn't need filtering, but we could get away with it. And the reason we cared to do that is that we can use a different kind of part that maybe has some other sonic effects. So, but that's the snare mic. So yeah, it's micparts.com. We have all this stuff online. Here's the URL. And if you have any questions, send us an email and I'll help as best I can.
Yep, and I'll put links down below to all of Matt's stuff, the DIY micparts.com, the Roswell audio as well. So we'll have links down below. Thanks, Matt. Awesome
Mitch,
to meet you
you're
at
the man.
NAMM.
So great to see
good.
you.
So great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks.